Okay, so thanks for joining us today. I'm Ben Fairbank, CEO, co-founder Red Fox Labs, and I'm joined by Art Glegor, who heads up our gaming division. He's a co-founder of R Fox Games, and also Evan, as everyone knows, from Wax. So, hello, guys.
Hey,
How's it going?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Let's start with a little bit about Art Glegor. He really needs no introduction in the gaming world. Perhaps you can give us a little bit of a background on what you've been doing in your past and your background, and then also why you think blockchain gaming is going to be the next big thing.
Well, the biggest thing that has happened to me recently is I had a kid a year and a half ago, so that's been a big change. But before all that, I worked at Sony Online Entertainment for 12 years. It then became Daybreak Games. But during that time, I worked on every MMO that they created. I worked on a first-person shooter MMO called PlanetSide 2, and then I helped forge the path for H1Z1, which then created the first mainstream standalone Battle Royale game. And if you've seen what has happened since then, Battle Royale has just taken off. So that's kind of what I've done in the past, and now I'm working on blockchain games because I truly believe that blockchain gaming and digital items and digital item ownership especially is going to be the future of gaming.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've also run into Evan in the past before in your past travels. Perhaps you can explain a bit about that.
Yeah, so in 2017, when everybody was talking about crypto, I dove in and I was looking at all the different ways it could be used, and I ran across Wax, and I don't remember how it was exactly, Evan. Maybe you can remind me, but I think Evan reached out to me, and we talked about putting a skin in H1Z1 that was just a simple Wax T-shirt, just to see what would happen with it, and it ended up selling pretty well. And it was kind of like the first confirmation for me that was like, okay, people actually in the crypto space want these crypto-related digital items in video games.
Yeah, it was a really unique experiment, and I've always, been very thankful to Adam for letting us try that, because I mean, it certainly, changed my perspective on kind of how this stuff could be done, right? There's kind of the crypto kitties, and then like to take that and apply it to something like H1Z1 skins, you can kind of see where there's a ton of room here, right? Like we're just scratching the surface right now. And so, yeah, Art Glegor has been kind of spearheading that. And so I assume I reached out to you, and in all honesty, I can guarantee that. But yeah, it was a fun kind of first, run in with one another. And then, Benny and Art Glegor came back. Gosh, I don't know. We've been talking for at least I got to imagine this whole year, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so we've been talking about, the stuff they're doing with Red Fox, some of their different gaming initiatives, and just generally, these guys have a really good head on their shoulders when it comes to, business as a whole and how it pertains to blockchain. I mean, Benny, you can talk about kind of your experience, but anyways, we've been nerding out for, I don't know how many meetings we've had over the last year, and then now to see KOGs, which I'll let you guys get into, kind of come to fruition is what I believe to be the first of many for you guys. Is exciting, and I'm just happy that all of our conversations materialized.
Yeah, for sure. I think on that, I mean, you guys obviously have that past and you have the connection, and I had a reach out with Art Glegor as well a few years back, and we started talking about games and what blockchain could do and how it could all progress, and it was pretty exciting. And then what we said at the end of that call is we should do something together, and ultimately our paths ended up crossing. We sort of said we should be able to do something a little bit different and cutting edge, and NFTs seemed to be the most logical way, because in-game economies they're a huge business. And I mean, we've heard the CEO of Gumi Games say that he thinks in-game economies can be bigger than the Japanese economy, just one game. If the Counter-Strikes and the Worlds of Warcraft and all of those types of games bring in NFTs, it's a game changer. So my background being very commercial and C-level in big unicorns, it was a big risk to come across to blockchain full stop. Then to partner with the gaming side of things, that's another question mark next to what happens, where does it go? You're facing a multi-billion-dollar industry that doesn't really want that disruption. It's sort of structured in a certain way. And I think it's really good that all of our paths have crossed, because as you said, we've been speaking for the best part of this year. And to be honest, there's no easier onboarding process than Wax. And this is what surprised us. We've been building with some very baseline code, and we've been doing some amazing things on chain, but to actually be able to have the user side of things, people being able to join, get a wallet, sign up, purchase easily and simply, Wax has taken that to a whole new level. So I think you've got a real first mover advantage and a chance to really be the leader in the space. So that's why we are very, very excited to bring KOGs to you.
Yeah, I mean, we're very excited. I mean, we've talked about this at length, but for everybody watching, you know, I know for sure me and Arclegger grew up playing with POGs and you know, that whole kind of ecosystem. And for me, it was like this like American thing. I was living in Hong Kong as a kid, and I remember coming back to like my cousins living in Minnesota, and it was like, that was it. Like, that's all they did. And so like, I remember going back to Hong Kong, we brought all these KOGs, try to get everybody on board back there. So it's got a nice sentimental thing for me. And I know like for everybody else here, like KOGs is the first of like a lot of these projects these guys are working on. And I think it's got incredible potential. And I'll let you guys talk about how it's designed in a way that isn't, I think is genuinely very unique, right? Like there is a way for this to be a very different type of NFT than what we're used to seeing. The amount of, you know, different things you can do from an IP perspective, from an artwork perspective, to rarities and functionality, and then also time that is what's getting me excited. So I'll keep it at that, but maybe, you know, Ben, maybe you can start or Adam and kind of talk about like what is KOGs at its core, and that'll help.
Yeah, so I'll pass that over to Adam for some of it, but I will say we sat down and we thought to ourselves, what can we do? Now, Adam's obviously, Arclegger's got his finger on the pulse, and he knows exactly what's popular, and he knows what will work. And then we had the blockchain experience, so it was a matter of saying what can actually be done. So, Arc, do you want to just walk through the first initial idea behind POGs?
Yeah. So what's funny is this. I want to bring this up because initially I wrote a few designs for you guys, and I think you guys liked them a lot. But you were like, you know, these are big projects, and some of these things we're not even sure if blockchain can even scale or handle this yet. And so we kind of had to like rein it back, because I was coming at you with like AAA level designs for blockchain gaming.
Yeah.
And I kind of had like a wake up call where I was like, wait a minute, blockchain's not there yet, right? Like we're still in like the Atari Nintendo phase. So that kind of helped me a lot, like kind of scale it back and think back to like, okay, we're starting with the basics. Like if I was making video games in 1980 or 1975 or what, name a year around that era, like what type of game would I be trying to create? So that kind of helped me rein it in. And then when I started thinking about NFTs specifically, I was thinking about like collections, and I was like, well, people like stamps. And I was like, stamps? No one's going to want to collect a stamp. And then I was like, well, what do they like? And I was, what did I like? And then it just like a light bulb went off, and I was like, oh my God, I remember collecting and playing POGs like all the time. And that was like the craze. Like I had to choose between taking my 75 cents and going to the arcade or buying like a pack of 5 POGs, right? And so it was just kind of like perfect. I started thinking about NFTs and collections and, you know, the artwork and just the game side of it. I think that's one of the biggest things. You know, it's a little different now, but even a year and a half ago, there weren't very many NFT games, right? Games that you could collect something and then take that collection and then use it in a video game. So that was like number one. I was like, okay, if we're going to make an NFT game, the game part of it has to be there. So POGs, you know, growing up is also a game. You can play it stacking up. You can play it by throwing them. You can play it like, you can get creative with it, however you want to play. So what we've done with KOGs is we've made the game where you stack them up together. You take slammers, you slam it down. Whatever flips over is what you win. or whoever flips over the most wins. So that's kind of like how KOGs came to be. And then the design of the KOG itself, there's been a lot of work going into the design. I don't know if you can tell, but behind me is actually a KOG from our 80s collection set. And so when you get this KOG, let's say you open up your pack and you get this KOG. Well, you also got blue, which means you got a blue border, and you also got this design of the border. So other people can open up this same KOG and they could get a different color and a different design. So there's all these other different elements of things that you can collect. So when you get your collection of KOGs and then you want to go play against somebody, well, if you want all your KOGs to look like this, then you're going to have to trade with other people to get them or buy them on the secondary market or open more KOG packs, right? So there's just going to be a really high collectability factor, and then also hopefully a really big fun factor in trying to like play against other people and getting your collection better and having fun with the NFT environment, having fun with the blockchain environment of being able to do these trades.
Yeah, and I think that that's a good point. When ARC first came to us with the first designs, it was like, here's an idea that, and in my head, I heard, here's an impossible idea that'll cost about 60 million. And I was thinking, all right, that's a triple A, because his ideas are fantastic. And I was thinking that would be awesome, but A, can't afford it, and B, don't know if that can actually be done yet. And then when POGs came to me the first time, I thought to myself, yeah, it's nostalgic. It's a great game. Everybody in the world knows it. It's easy to understand, but we can't just have it be about that. So how can we make these NFTs be interchangeable, and how can we have a series of games where you can take these NFTs, and if you're done playing one game, how can you take them into another game? So that's kind of been fun as well, to talk about and think about the possibilities and how it ties into the rest of the products that we're building in our ecosystem. But as Ark said, the current border structure, colors, and all the rest of it can make it quite complex as far as the scope of collections are concerned. And then obviously for Series 1 or for Edition 1, we will look at minimizing that as much as we possibly can, because we have 100 different designs. And Ark, maybe you want to talk about how they're in 10 different sets. So one thing I will say is, if you look at GPK, which was wildly successful, and congratulations to you, Evan, and to Wax for the great job you did with those guys. They'll have one picture and then they'll have 4 different variances. So like a base or a prism, tiger scratch, for example. Whereas what we've got is 10 different sets of pictures. So Ark, do you want to just explain some of the inspiration and the fact that we're using different artists for that?
Yeah, so we reached out to a lot. Well, let me just start by saying the design that I really wanted for KOGs is I wanted it to feel like an old school POG collection, which was, if you look at anybody's old school POG collection, it's just artwork from all kinds of different things. Like there's a Coca-Cola bottle cap, and then there's a ghost, and then there's an 8-ball, and then there's some dude surfing, and then he has like 5 of those surfer dude ones, and then it's just all over the place, right? But that's what made it really cool to look at each person's collection, because it's just a little treasure of all these different things. If you use the same artist or the same 1 or 2 artists, the whole collection's going to look the same, right? It's going to have the same art style. So we really wanted to have a lot of different artists creating a lot of different artwork, so it gets that feel of when you open a pack of KOGs, it feels like you're getting like a bunch of different things. It doesn't feel like you're just getting like, and this isn't like a knock on Garbage Pail Kids or anything like that, but you can tell the difference between the art styles, that the art styles all the same, right? Where KOGs is, it's going to feel like you're getting a lot of different artworks. And, kudos to Magic the Gathering, because they do that really well. They have tons of artists making a Magic the Gathering set, and you will get lots of different, when you open up a booster pack of Magic, it feels like you're getting like all these really cool cards. So we really wanted to have that feeling. So we have, I think, at least 10 different artists making 10 different KOGs. We might have 1 or 2 sharing, crossing over, but you should really feel like you're getting a lot of uniqueness in just the artwork itself.
That is very cool. I mean, and then, I was just, while you're talking, I was like, I wonder what the rarest KOGs are. I was just like, rarest POGs are in the world. I was like, the crazy thing is like, you know, this may be on the business end and not as true to the art form, but like, wow, like every like major IP brand released a set of POGs, you know, and that's pretty cool, right? Where you can interplay, and maybe there's something where you can work with, you know, I'm inserting name, but like, you know, Tops or whatever other IP partners, you know, you guys find or we find. And it seems like the ability to make these and keep this game fun for years is a rare thing that you guys have going for you. It doesn't have to stop.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of things that you could tie into this.
Totally, totally. I mean, that's, you know, part in how simple it is. That's part of the beauty, right? It's the simplicity of just stacking something up, going 1v1 against somebody, and just having a basic mechanic that everyone agrees on, right? And um, you're right. It has so much potential, and I think it's a huge marketing opportunity too for these companies. If, you know, COGs starts showing up and people start getting a bunch of them, well, then of course, naturally, these companies are going to want to put their brand on it, and that's what you saw in the 90s with POGs. They're like, what? Every kid buys this and plays this? Then every single cartoon, every single serial, every single show, like they tried to make their own little version of it.
Yeah, we've seen that with Funko and the bobblehead dolls and all the different IP. And since we've just started talking about it, and we haven't really started pushing any real marketing yet, we've already seen an Asian company come to us and say, would you like to make an animated series out of your pictures? We've also had other people ask to do their IP on the next lot. We've also had a company that we are affiliated with in the gambling space that said, do you want to do casino chips? Because they kind of look like casino chips, so the rare ones could be worth, you know, the highest amount because they're getting into taking cryptocurrencies as forms of payments. And what we've had to do is really strip it back and say, we just need to focus on getting this first set right, this first edition right. We need to make sure we get the gameplay right as well. And then let's worry about those possibilities. But it is very encouraging to see that other people outside of us, without even knowing the full dynamics yet, are coming in and saying, we can see the longer term potential, and how do we partner? So that's been really exciting, and I'm sure a lot of that's also due to the fact that Wax is getting a lot of exposure now, and you've got some amazing. Your advisory board, Evan.
Yeah, the advisory board's good and growing. So I'm excited. I mean, I've got a different perspective on the advisory council, right? Like for me, I'm just really excited to get all these people in one room, right? And talking about these things. Like, I think there's going to be so much crossbreeding between ideas and platforms, and at the very least, if not that, which I think is certainly going to happen, but at the very least, we can start to get a sense of like, okay, what do we do, right? Well, how can we get you guys involved? You've got all this awesome stuff, right? It's like one thing to get IP, but like, what is it going to take to get, you know, whatever that next kind of iteration may be, and bringing, you know, the toy manufacturers and the tech guys and the gaming people all to the table, you know, people with real decision-making authority and at the very least serious, you know, serious chops for their particular vertical, right? And really they bring a domain expertise that like we couldn't hire that, right? Like you couldn't hire enough people in all this in one place, right? And so for us, it's like, you know, it's almost like a consortia, and it's a place for hopefully breeding ideas, and you know, that's what's exciting me. But yeah, so that's the advisory council.
Yeah, I think the thing is, if you look at advisory council, and if you were looking at it and say it's a photo, for example, you think, geez, that has to be photoshopped. Like it's the how it's stacked with those amazing people. Like you say, I've spent my career working with some pretty inspirational people running big unicorn companies, and to get a heavyweight group of people together in one room like that doesn't happen for people that don't really understand how this whole thing works, unless they see that there's massive potential there. So they either see this as a caveat or an opportunity to expand their businesses, or they think this is the future and we need to get our heads around it and understand it because it's coming and it's coming fast. We need to understand it. So whichever way you look at it, it's extremely positive for the industry, full stop.
No question. And you know, and I'm sure people will be annoyed about this, but like, for instance, right, like if you're a gaming exec, right, I'm sure you've heard of Bitcoin, you've probably heard of Ethereum, you've heard of you've heard of the concept of NFTs, right? If you've got your pulse, you know, you've got any sense of the pulse going on in the world. But like, this is where like Wax and other alternatives to like this ETH's, you know, ERC 721, it's like, that's not the only game in town. And in fact, it's not even really the most profitable game in town, right? Like, we're already seeing our marketplaces with 1 or 2 IP releases, you know, jump over the ETH ones, right? And so being able to get them exposed to like the blockchain world doesn't have to be this esoteric, scary place. Like, it can look and feel like what you're used to, you know, and that's something that, you know, clearly I want to do. But for the space as a whole, it's just good to get them more. They don't need to think about it as this thing that all these weird, you know, random people around the world are, you know, kind of talking about, but I don't really care about, and trying to like put some life and some context in front of them that makes it really, really easy to digest. And hopefully that can really spearhead some interesting deals.
Yeah, exactly. And we're just honoured to be in the thick of that. I mean, obviously, we're 20 odd days away from our release, and that's right in the smack bang in the middle of some pretty big releases as well. So we're very honoured to sort of to be in that esteemed company as well. But yeah, I've been getting a couple of questions in the last couple of days about slammers being the thing that kids collected, and even played versions of the game with only slammers and no actual POGs.
Oh,
so
yeah, slammers only. That was for the big kids.
yeah, very rich for that, eh?
Yeah.
So you want to talk a little bit about the slammers?
Yeah, so for our first set, we have 12 slammers, and just FYI for the collectors out there, every single COG and slammer that we have is also going to have a foil version as well. So not only can you get like this border, this color, you can get this border, this color, and foil, right? So there's going to be a lot of high potential for ultra rare stuff. And there's also a variant on the slammer. I don't want to give it away because I want it to be a surprise, but you can get a slammer, or you can get a variant that has a different 3D look of the slammer. And then you can get that plus foil, right? So you can have slammer, different variant slammer, foil slammer of that different variant. So if you get one of those, you would have like this ultra, ultra, ultra rare thing. And so just for everybody out there, we understand, and I learned a lot about this on H1Z1, and I'm sure Evan understands this really well working with wax and skins and stuff. We understand how rarity and market and you know, making sure that there's high value, high collectible value, and that it doesn't just overflow and it doesn't just get too crazy. We're very aware of and paying attention to that. So we're not going to try to sit here and just print and print and print and print and print and print and sell it for 6 months, right? That's not what we're trying to do. We want to have each set of COGs come out. We want to have each set have a certain amount that gets printed or sold for a certain amount of time or whatever we do, and then we just stop it. And then we move to the next set. And then whatever was there is there. And that's it. It should never get printed again. And that way you kind of have these clean cuts of each collection. So people know what they're getting into. They know what they're buying into. They can look at it all in the public blockchain. And they can be like, oh, look, this thing that was behind our Klager's screen on that interview, there's only 7 of them. So I'm going to go try to get one of those 7, right? And then they can have confidence in when they buy that NFT that they only have 1 of 7. So I just wanted to say that because I think that's really important on the collection side. I know the game side is really fun, and getting people's COGs back and forth and playing with them it should be fun. But for the people who are just pure collectors, they should know that, you know, the people that are behind it are paying attention to that kind of stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And you've seen it on a mass scale, right? I mean,
oh yeah.
got even more interesting, you know. I mean, you guys could do one little thing at H1Z1's peak. I mean, that could make a huge impact on the whole item economy, right? Like one decision can totally make or break stuff.
I remember high-level collectors getting mad at us because we would have a crate sale go on for too long. You know, they would get, you know, 2 or 3 high-level ultra rares, and then they would be like, crates and crates and crates keep selling and selling and selling for months and months and months and months, and they're just like getting upset because they just see their price going down and down and down, you know, as the months go on. But that's not how it should be. There should be a time limit, or at least a set amount where it's like, that's it, done, move on to the next one.
Well, the awesome thing, and sorry to interrupt you there, Benny, but I just want to get across, like, the community has been so helpful in terms of like making artwork, and there's been so many artists and other people coming to us. Like, I see a world where like you're not gonna have any problem making a new set every month or whatever your cadence ends up being, right? because I think it's not even that just you guys ought to do it. Like, I think, you know, there's a way to open source some of the artwork and like put out competitions and get, you know, user generated content and competitions going. Not to mention brands and other things, but like just a way to kind of involve the community in a nice way.
Exactly. I think, guys, we're going to run out of time very shortly, but I want to say thank you very, very much to Evan to take the time out to talk to us, because I understand how busy you are in all that's going on, because it's a little bit crazy in Wax World at the minute. And to Ark, thank you very much. Different time zones as well over there for joining us and explaining a little bit more from the gamer side. But we're very excited, and we hope everybody will be excited as well, and looking forward to releasing on Wax in August.
Yeah, we're excited too. We'll run this thing back. I love talking to you guys. We'll run this thing back when we get closer to launch, and maybe we can give out some sneak previews and do some drops or something like that. And we can do this a couple more times. So I appreciate it, guys, and thank you for your time as well.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Bye.